All right, here we are. Welcome everybody to the stream. We're going to give it a couple minutes to get some people in here. Hello, gentlemen. How are you?
Doctor.
All right. Hope we can jam in some people today.
Merry Christmas.
Happy New Year. Happy Chinese New Year. What else we got?
Hey, is our mod on tonight? Is Puddin on tonight?
Good question. Let me harass him real fast.
Tell that bastard he's a moderator. He needs to be on here every fucking time.
It's his full-time job that we don't pay him for.
Exactly. That's why he should be here. All right, we're getting a few people starting to trickle in. A little bit of trickle action.
Now let's see who comments first. I think it's gonna be Quinn.
Let's hope. I told Quinn that we'd be changing the time to 6 o'clock, so.
And he was part of our customer feedback as far as what new time we should use, and he said 6. So if his ass isn't on here shortly, we're gonna have to send him some hate mail.
Now, technically, he's the only one I asked about the 6 o'clock time change, because I don't have anybody of these other bastards on Facebook. So he's really the only one. I don't see Quinn. I don't see Puddin. I don't know what the hell's going on here.
Josh, you have a mumuch more professional backdrop than any of us fools over here.
You really do. I have a fucking ladder behind me.
You've got the Jesus ring behind your head.
Yeah. That's a saint ring.
Yeah. Can you make it glow?
I mean, I probably could. I just changed the studio lighting.
I like it. I mean, you should do that.
Can you?
I'm in the corner of my garage. So, but yeah, I had this backdrop. I built this backdrop myself, and there's nothing behind there. So, thanks for asking.
Hey,
so don't knock too hard.
At least it's not as weird looking as Daniel's background. It's with all his little weird mood lighting and his.
Hey, at least my room's clean. Holy crap! Your room is actually more clean than it has been every other stream.
I told you, I organized the entire dining room.
Wow, it's like you shave your head and then you clean your room.
I'm telling you, listen, I had to shave the head. It was too curly. It looked like an afro. I can't do that.
Yeah. Well, it sounds like Puddin's on.
All right, Puddin. It's about time, Puddin. You know,
Josh, Puddin is Zach.
Yeah, Puddin balls.
Okay. Yeah, exactly. Puddin balls.
Good old Puddin balls.
He got kicked off Xbox for having that name, Lord Puddin Balls, because people thought it was inappropriate. However, he just really likes tapioca pudding.
Yeah, so do I. Who doesn't?
And balls? Like, what's the...
Tapioca balls. Tapioca's little balls of tapioca. Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry. I don't know what that is. I guess I'm...
Boba tea.
Yeah, boba tea. Yep.
Boba tea's outstanding.
I'm lost.
Yeah, tapioca balls. Those are bigger balls, though.
Yeah, those are
smaller. He likes the real tiny balls in his mouth.
Yeah, that's how he rolls.
Yep.
He's dirty like that.
I always knew that about him.
I need to find him so I can't even see who's on here. I need to find him so I can friend request him on here.
Wait, we have him on Discord, don't we? Daniel?
Yeah, he's Lord Puddin Balls on Discord.
What's his hashtag number, though?
I don't know. You got to ask him.
You know, so we can read it out to the public so they can all get on Discord and fuck with him.
All right, let me read it out loud. I'm going to text him, ask him, and then read it out loud so everybody can harass him, because everybody needs to harass him.
That'd be perfect. So, Daniel, after you do that, we might as well make an introduction to who our guest is today. We have a guest appearance. That's not Daniel.
I honestly don't know who you brought on board. I just thought he was a friend of yours.
Daniel, is that a woman's shirt you're wearing?
I only wear a women's shirt.
I'm just checking.
It really makes me look like I'm bigger than I am.
Yeah, we used to call them baby brother t-shirts. You get them at baby. Get them at the baby gap.
Oh man, that is amazing.
Well, we have the one and only Josh Inyart.
Yep, that's it. That's the one.
All right,
19 I go by GB2. It's exactly why I go by GB2.
Gray bearded Green Beret, even though it's more of salt and pepper bearded Green Beret.
Yeah, there's a lot of gray in there.
Oh no, it's plenty gray.
Yeah,
plenty. I cut off about 4 inches after the last shoot, so I was going to mail it to Zach. But I thought he might find it offensive, and I didn't.
He might have made a hair doll out of it, and it might have been creepy as fuck.
Yeah, if he wants to get a DNA sample for me, he's going to have to go get a blood test.
Oh, Quinn's on. Hello, Quinn. What's up with the late arrival, Quinn? This was the time that you chose.
There was a very. There was a good joke from him.
Quinn just jumped on, and Jesse, the joke went right over your head.
Sorry. As most.
So Josh, you've done a lot more than a lot of people can even claim they've done, and you're a very modest guy, so I don't want to put you on the spot there. But you've done how many tours?
Between active duty and private contracting, I think about a dozen.
A dozen tours.
Yeah, about a dozen. I think five or so in Iraq and 7 in Afghanistan.
Which country has the best resorts?
Best resorts? I think they're skiing in Afghanistan in the Hindu Kush now. You can have a 4-man personal security detail to carry, AKs to slide with you beside, down the mountain. But yeah, I mean, Iraq had.
Nice. I figured it would have been like the royal palaces in Iraq, but
they were pretty nice. Yeah, they were pretty nice. Afghanistan really doesn't have anything like that. No.
So that's a lot of tours. And so what brought you from active duty to survival? I mean, there's some crossover there, but I mean that's kind of a large jump.
Yeah, I kind of went from being I was an infantry guy first, and then I was a weapons guy after that, and then cross-trained a lot with medical stuff. Then after I got out and started doing the contracting thing, I was still basically being contracted for my knowledge of weapons and tactics and all that. And then a little bit for the medical, but not much because that wasn't my main thing. Then I kind of, started dabbling. I had a lot of free time between contracts, and I started dabbling in things like I learned to do custom kydex on one tour when I was over in Afghanistan. Made my own holster and I thought it was pretty cool. So I came back and basically bought a whole shop of kydex stuff and started working that. And then that was my original side hustle kind of thing where I was trying to break into, anything at all other than contracting and getting shot at for a living. So I did that for a while and then figured out that I could make maybe a holster every 4 hours. And if you do the math out, I mean, you're not going to make a living doing that. So I kind of stopped doing that and I started carrying some survival gear, some retail stuff. And then figured out I couldn't compete with Amazon. So I kind of got away from that and I started looking into doing the training because really it came down to, what can I do now that I'm not deploying anymore, because at that time I had my 3rd kid, 4th kid, new wife, and was like, I'm not going to do this anymore. 12 is enough. 13 is an unlucky number. So I was done with that. But I still had to set something up, to be able to fall back into. So, I started studying medical, EMT and wilderness medical and all that. Started studying that, was working towards a biology degree, working towards going to PA school after that, along with my wife, who's also an EMT and a bio major. But so really the only thing that I could do that I used to do that I liked still is medical stuff and survival stuff. So that's kind of what led me towards that. And everything else that I tried, despite doing those two things, really, I figured out pretty quick that it's not something that was going to happen. So started doing the survival training more, and then the medical training just kind of happened out of that, just being the most qualified medical person in the circles that I'm normally running. And then I started Flint and Steel Critical Skills Group as a project, a big nationwide collaborative. And then from there, the YouTube channel kind of kicked off for me accidentally. And nobody could find me though, because I couldn't spell or say my last name. So I changed my label on there, my brand on there, to the Gray Bearded Green Beret. And that was the spaghetti that stuck against the wall. And then from there, it kind of, everything just happened, and started, it's still going crazy. And it's really just made a really huge mess. And just trying to focus on the things that are the cleanest part of the mess that are actually working.
Welcome to the industry. Even the big guys just make one big fucking mess.
Yep, huge mess, and it's really just a lot of throwing spaghetti against the wall to see what sticks. And this survival training is what stuck. And like I said, YouTube was an accident. The medical training was an accident. All of it, everything that I planned that I thought was going to work out, never went that way. So it's just constantly being flexible and going with the flow and figuring out what is working and running down that rabbit hole as far as you can. So that's how
I'll tell you right now, I think there are hundreds of survivalists out there that want to know your spaghetti recipe.
Yeah. Work. Yeah. Keep working until something happens.
Jesse, if you want to ask a question, I'll be right back. I have a little distraction downstairs.
I can hear that.
He's got a cat bladder too.
Yeah, most of the people, they think they're going to jump into the industry and it's going to be easy. They're going to say, hey, I'm going to sell this. I'm going to do that. I'm going to create this. Man, people who've been in the industry like us, it's not even anything close to that. It's a complete nightmare most of the time where you're scrambling, trying to figure out what the hell's going on. But honestly, even the big companies, they go through the same thing. Yep. It really isn't much of a difference.
No, I think it's just you gotta still be doing it whenever people start noticing. I think that's one of the keys. Is just don't quit and keep working.
And it's ever changing. The industry changes literally every day. Facebook algorithms change. YouTube changes the way that they're putting your content out. But the key to it all is content. Everyone wants to see more and more content, and that's I think what you bring to the table better than anyone else is bringing the content. Well, I mean, besides us,
Well, what surprises me the most is, I've met a lot of different survivalists, and when did you what year did you start getting into doing survival training?
Doing the actual training, I would say 2014 was my last deployment. So I would say probably 5 years ago, I really started going down that rabbit hole. And I was doing some survival Saturday training in the woods next to my house. I think maybe it's been about 6 years ago, to where people would just come out and we'd spend a Saturday just doing skills. And then that kind of morphed into, maybe I could launch this into an actual business. But then, like Jesse was saying, it's one thing to have an idea. It's one thing to have the ability to do things. But if nobody knows who you are, nobody can see you, it doesn't matter how good you are. And I think that's where a lot of folks in this industry fail to really make it in the industry, is because they're not doing the research, the market analysis. They're not doing the marketing. They're trying to let the skills speak for themselves. Well, yeah, the skills speak for themselves if you can get someone in front of you to look at it. But if nobody's in front of you, it doesn't matter what you can do. You're just a guy out in the woods by yourself, So that's where the YouTube came in. That's where social media comes in. I wouldn't have social media if I didn't need it, so that people would know who I am and what I'm trying to do, and see if that's something they want to come be a part of. So without the marketing and without a team that's able to take some of those hats off your head, you're dead in the water. There's only so far you could go by yourself, and there's only so far you can go based on your own efforts. I mean, you have to expand that. So I think, it's one of those, success is that point where opportunity meets preparedness. If you're not prepared, it doesn't matter how good you are, you're not going to get the rest of the equation right. So I think that's important, is recognizing the point to where you've reached your pinnacle, and then looking for ways to kind of strengthen and staff your weaknesses so that you can focus on your strengths. And I think that's what makes, an individual trying to break into this organization, into this industry, into this organization, that has this sense of self, that's actually making it and kind of getting noticed. And that's what really it comes down to. All of that has to happen just to get that person in front of you to do what you really want to do, which is train people, So, but without all that other stuff, that person's never going to be there. It's going to be you.
You've kind of struck that good balance of being a knowledgeable, good instructor and also getting the audience. I've met lots and lots of different survival instructors over the years. Some of them are very good and have zero audience. Some of them are pretty terrible, have big audiences. I mean, everybody watching the stream, we all know exactly what I'm talking about here. And but you've got the combination of both of those. You are a absolutely fantastic instructor. You whittle it down so that way it is digestible by anybody. Anybody can digest this information and apply it the way you describe it and teach it. The only other instructor that I've met to date that really is on par with you would be Kirsten Retnich. Both of you guys are absolutely insanely good instructors and have knowledge that it goes from the micro to the macro. So and it was absolute pleasure working with you on the film, and myself and Zach both learned a ridiculous amount of information.
Hey, real quick, I just want to point out the fact that you could say her last name perfectly well, which is much more difficult, but you fuck up his.
Wait,
I just want to point that out.
No, I got it. It's Joshua Earnhardt.
Yeah.
Earnhardt. Are you related to the race car driver, Earnhardt?
Yep, that's what I usually get. I'm like, there's not even an F in it. There's not even an H in it. Anywhere. Anyway.
The only reason I fuck with you so bad is because my last name is Kuykendall of all things.
No, it's Kuykendall. I'm surprised you didn't know that.
Kuykendall, yes, I'm gonna go with that one. I like that a lot.
That's one of the approved pronunciations. Yes,
it's like cucumber, only different.
I can't.
Well, so have you noticed if people give you a call, you get a random phone call, you answer the phone, they say, "Hey, is there a Mr. or Mrs. Kuykendall?" And I immediately go, "I'm sorry, there's nobody here by that name."
Yeah,
it helps get rid of the spam calls.
Yeah, it does.
Kuykendall.
Yeah, if you can't pronounce my last name when you call, then you're probably not. Well,
wait,
who am I kidding? If I don't have your number programmed in my phone, I ain't answering it anyway.
Is that why I get so much spam? Because my last name is Wilbur, the easiest name to remember, and
that could be.
My mother's name is Charlotte. What are the fucking odds of that? Charlotte Webb, Wilbur.
And the company phone number gets forwarded to your number.
And it's a lot of bullshit calls for Daniel. Every day it's like, Daniel, please. I'm like, there's no Daniel here. Go away. They still call. No. Doesn't matter. I've said some crazy shit to them and they still call.
Yeah, that number's been associated with my name for years.
It has been, because I used to call you on it.
Now I know why you pushed that off to me. That's what I said.
Speaking of Kirsten Recknitz, that's Kirsten is kind of like who do survival instructors watch? Who's their favorite instructor? Kirsten is my favorite instructor. So being put in the same category as her is a huge compliment to me, because I have a massive amount of respect for her as a person and also as an instructor, her ability to deliver. And it reminded me of when I was taking biology, like 38 to 42 years old, running around college. There was a sign on the chemistry professor's door, basically a cartoon, but it was profound. And I was sitting out there waiting to talk to my professor. I'm just reading this person's door. And of all places for something like this to come, but from academia. But it said, if you can't explain something so that everyone can understand it, then you don't know it well enough. And I was like, damn, that's exactly what it is. So going back to what you were saying, breaking it down to the point to where everyone's going to understand it. I think that's really one of the most important things about being an instructor. It's what we try to do in our instructor training program. There's courses out there where you can go get a certificate that says you're an instructor after a month and a half, but you don't know shit. You got 45 days of experience. You know how to perform skills, but it's not about performing. It's about performing and then understanding how to do it wrong 100 ways so that when you see it, you recognize it and know how to correct it. But you have to understand things to a level that only comes from a long-term experience, so the instructors we're producing, the minimum that anyone's made it through has been 2 guys made it through in 7 months, so they're coming out with a lot more experience, a lot more troubleshooting. It's not about regurgitating skills. It's about thinking about what's happening and understanding it to the point to where you could explain it, because you could get someone that gets it without you saying a word. They can just watch you do it, all the different ways that adults learn. You also get that person that's going to look at you. You can explain it perfectly, where 2 out of 3 people will get it, but that third person is going to look at you like a pig looking at a wristwatch.
That's the guy that emails me all the time.
Yeah, he's typically on YouTube commenting. I'll never do it that way.
So
understanding at that level is key to being an effective instructor, I think.
I'm a behind the camera guy. I don't talk about myself much, but my history is in instructional design, and mechanical engineering, psychology. So I did instructional design for Apple computers. I did I created UI UX, which is user interface user design for Siemens, as well as other companies of that caliber. I've studied psychology, trying to discern, the simplest possible way to break down complex problems into a simplified solution. And so that's my background, and it's a very challenging thing to do. So I've had the privilege of working with many different experts over the years. Produced to date, I think about 14, 15 films with different experts over the years, and so that's why I want to emphasize that you and Kirsten are the top two that we've worked with to date. Now, with that in mind, with your military experience, being a Green Beret, having to train others, do you think that helped you in your ability to transition the learning and the teaching over to the survival industry?
Yeah. So aside from the survival industry, going back even before I was in the Green Berets, I started off in the Rangers, and then my first enlistment was in the Rangers. My second enlistment I spent as an instructor. That was my first official instructor position. So that would have been 1997 or so. And one of the things that we had to do was go to an Army instructor training course where they teach you principles of learning and principles of delivering instruction. So, if you add that, my professional instructor career started basically back 20 years ago. But it's just a matter of, it was a total Army instructor training course. So they just teach you how to deliver it and the principles. It doesn't matter where they send you then to deliver information. It's still delivered the same. Adults still learn the same, so you could basically take that template and apply it to whatever you're teaching, so I use that a lot. So I taught pre-Ranger for a while. Then my next instructor position was, I actually taught the Air Force combat controllers, so Air Force Special Operations Command. So that was my first job out of the Army. So I had to go down to Texas, and that's where I took the Air Force basic instructor course. So it's the exact same thing. So fast forward from 97 to 2008, I think it was, and I went through their version of the same thing and taught weapons and tactics to those guys. So different things that I'm teaching basically dismounted patrolling and tactics, then weapons and tactics. Then, I taught, my last contract was Marine Special Operations Command, where I was teaching sniper and ground warfare, which is weapons and tactics, CQB, CQM, snipers, all that stuff. So it's all a matter of, being comfortable up in front of people and understanding material to the level to where you can break it down to anyone that gets put in front of you. I think the experience that comes from that is just, you could pretty much give me any packet of information and I could take it and actually digest it and figure out, get some experience with it. I think I could deliver it reasonably effectively, but it's just using the same principles of instruction, that I've been doing for 20 years. So I do have an advantage, I think. I've been lucky in that my career kind of set me up for the career path that I'm doing now. I mean, call it a career, but it's self-employed. It's one of those jobs you never want to retire from. I'm professionally go to the woods all the time, so hard to beat.
Yeah, I professionally get to behind a camera and film people like you and edit it and sell it. Do it from home and out in the, I get to travel to some amazing places. So yeah, I know exactly what you mean there.
Yeah. And I'm working 80 to avoid 40. So same thing.
There you go. You ever heard that saying, you should be willing to work 80 hours a week for yourself if you're willing to work 40 hours a week for someone else.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
Just the way it is.
That's the other problem in the industry. A lot of guys don't think they have to put in the time. They just think that things are just going to fucking fall into place. They don't need to do it all. It's crazy.
Now, careful, because things kind of did fall into place for Josh for YouTube, right? You were saying that was kind of a fluke.
That was a complete accident. Yeah, and I'm glad that it happened, because it kind of, I had worked for 2 years probably on YouTube, just throwing videos up for free. And they were terrible videos. I mean, the content was good, but they were filmed poorly. It was like an old style camera, one of the first digital cameras that came out. So I'd film things up in the woods, and terrible delivery of that stuff, you know. So, but I did that for a couple of years, and it just kind of was doing it on the side, and it wasn't really something I was interested in. It's just, you know, YouTube was always a kind of an advertisement of skills, you know, because my goal was always to physically teach people. But then, you know, hindsight being 2020, you know, now that the reach that I have now, you know, I would have never gotten that many people in front of me. So I appreciate the platforms and the social media that's kind of allowed me to reach more people and throughout a bigger cast net to have more people end up in front of me. But back then it wasn't something I was thinking about. So I had made a few videos for a buddy of mine. I was doing video content for a company that was paying me for content really quick, to the point to where they convinced me to leave my you know, contractor site lead position that was a cushy government job, you know, that was paying the bills at the time. They convinced me to leave that, and they were just going to pay me to provide content for them, which I did. I took it. Within 3 months, that company went under, and I was like, guys,
that sucks.
I'm kind of screwed here, you know. So they settled it up, and it was fine, and we basically lived off of that for another year until we could get things, you know, a little momentum going to where we had enough to where I didn't have to go back. But in that meantime, after they kind of went away, I had another buddy that had asked me to do some content for them, and we were going to do a project and try to, you know, actually market that project. And this is a guy I was in Ranger Battalion with, and he's a Facebook genius now. But he asked me for a set of videos, and I'm like, okay, I'll put together a set of videos. I went out in a week, I filmed them, I edited them, I had it packaged, and I was like, hey, and then the next day, that company called me back again and said, hey, just kidding, we're going to continue to pay you because we feel bad about how we, you know, screwed you out of your government job and benefits and all that. We're going to continue to pay you up until we don't know when, you know. So it's like, all right, well, I can't give these guys the video, and I'm not giving these guys the video because they're just paying me basically on retainer, and I don't know where that's going, but there's no, like, I didn't trust it at all. So I ended up like, you know what, I've got like 400 subscribers on my YouTube channel. I'll shelf them up there because it was a week worth of work. I'll just put them up on my YouTube channel. And then, you know, once all this other stuff settles out with this other company that went under, you know, but they're still kind of paying me, and get that figured out, then you guys can have the videos. Well, then I put up the one of the videos was the ultralight bug out. I was doing a series on bugging out, probably about a 7 video series in the end. And I put that video up, and I think, I don't even know what happened, but you know, my channel wasn't monetized. I had no Amazon, no anything. But that thing went viral, and I think it had 500,000 within 6 months or something crazy like that. And my channel, you know, basically in the last 18 months since posting that video, long story short, my channel went from like 500 subs to I'm about to hit 100,000 subs. And that video is well over 2 million views now. It's one of the top videos on bug out bags, you know, on YouTube. So that was a complete accident. That was made for somebody else. Give it to them because this other company had me in limbo, and then when it took off, I was like, hey guys, you can't have it, you know, it's mine.
Good thing. You would have made someone else a shitload of money.
Yeah, I would have. Yeah, I would still be sitting here, like, we wouldn't probably be talking, you know. I'd be ordering films from you guys instead of making them with you.
So I remember when we were filming, it popped into my head I think it was the 4th day of filming. We went out to do the aerial shots.
Yeah,
with the drone, and we're just walking around, just bullshitting, and we turn a corner, and there's a pack of wild boars.
Yep,
remember that?
Oh yeah.
Yep. And so we're sitting there filming them, having a good time, and Josh is over there just saying, "Hey, by the way, I can outrun all, you know, both you and Zach." And
no.
And I'm sitting there going bullshit. Now I was hoping that I was hoping they would charge. I really was hoping they would charge.
I thought they were
fun. I would have taken my camera. I would have hit you in the face, and then kept going.
But and he still would have caught you. And literally threw you to the wild boars.
Field and just took it at my kneecap, and then we would have been good.
Yeah.
But so I'm sitting here filming these boars, these wild boars, and several of them are alert to us. We've got 4 of them just staring at us, and then one of them in particular just starts take a step forward. And so while I'm filming, I look over and Josh takes a step forward. Then the wild boar takes another step forward. Then Josh takes another step forward. It's just back and forth like a game of chess. And eventually the hogs ran away.
They decided I had bigger balls. But then when they ran away, I noticed I didn't.
Yep.
I didn't have. What's that?
What'd you say?
I said he thought I had bigger balls, so he took off.
Yeah.
But when he ran away, I saw that I didn't. Yeah.
What did Puddin' say in chat?
I mean, the way he ran away, that must have hurt.
Together.
Yeah. They were big boys. They were big boys. But yeah, he was cool. Every time I see it in the sneak peeks that are out there, I go back to that moment. It's kind of exciting, sitting there walking up on a board trying to see who's gonna. It's like playing chicken with a pack of wild boars.
Something I have never done.
And I won. Check it off the bucket list.
The last encounter I had with a pack of wild boars was I was hammock camping, and I set my hammock about 3.5 feet off the ground, and so I'm sleeping, and then all of a sudden I hear the sound of a boar. I wake up, I hear it, and I just feel like a hanging meat pinata, basically.
Yeah.
My ass is just dangling in this sack, waiting for the boar tusks to just That was one of the most uncomfortable moments that I've experienced in my life.
How long did you hold your breath?
Quite a while.
There's no one in here.
I didn't set a timer or anything. I remember just going, do not make a sound, do not fart, do not give him any scent to come after.
I passed out at some point. I don't know what happened.
So besides that moment, from production, what are some other moments you remember?
That was pretty cool. I really liked when the owl came in that day. That was really, he stood basically directly above us, and we're trying to talk back and forth with him. He was really cool, big old owl. That was a lot of fun. I'm sorry, I'm going to pause you right there. Jesse, did you get my text about the video?
Yeah, I'm looking right now.
Okay. It's in your email. Pull it up because it would make a great segue.
All right.
So anyways, owl.
Continue to speak while I get this video.
What's out?
What?
I'm looking for it. Oh, I don't have it.
No, I didn't send it to you.
You said you were sending it to me.
Yeah, through text earlier. But that was a whole nother situation.
I've got iMessage on for.
Somebody likes to be complicated.
I am downloading.
I thought you were a simple man, but no, you got to be complicated.
Simple is regular text versus iMessage.
I honestly didn't know there was a difference. I didn't know I was using iMessage, but apparently I am.
Green is for the unpopular kids. Blue is for the popular kids. That's pretty much the best way to describe it.
So what's the big difference?
Green is simple. He needs his emojis.
So green is what is the standard text message technology that's been around since text messaging began. It goes through your cell tower, so it's tracked by your cell carrier. When you get your monthly reports for your cell bill, it will show every text message you've sent that way.
I'm sorry, I was falling asleep there for a minute. I actually didn't give a fuck what the difference was. I was just being a smartass.
The problem is, I know all the details about how this works.
I don't actually want to know, though.
iMessage is end-to-end encrypted.
He's going to tell us anyway.
Meaning it would take a small government to break through any of that. So iMessage Blue is good. It's more secure than text message, which is much easier to be tracked as long as you have good control over your iCloud account. So anyway,
without further ado,
I can go on for a half hour on it.
I'm going to play this video now, so Daniel will shut the fuck up. So
yeah,
here
please,
we go.
Please, God, do.
I can't see it. Where is it?
Oh, you won't be able to see it unless you're watching Twitch.
Sorry.
iMessage on.
We'll let you know when it's done. So this is raw video from our from the introduction. This is the very first chapter. There it's stuttering again, Jesse.
Is it?
Yep.
What the hell?
It is stuttering hardcore.
Yeah, I think you're right. It is.
You need to turn that off real quick and jump back to the video feed.
Yeah, hold on.
Right now.
Just shut up.
Because we're about to talk about ancient aliens.
What?
Tinfoil.
What just happened?
Tinfoil tactical. I was just thinking about
That's tinfoil Pharaoh right there.
I was just thinking about, he's worried about Big Brother checking his damn text messages.
Daniel, there you go. There's your perfect solution right there.
I thought we might be able to protect our conversation a little better. This is iMessage technology, right?
You need to take that off right now because we need to patent that technology right now and sell it as a wearable hat.
Well,
survival hat.
Now that
it's more of a bonnet. Or
bonnet. I'm sorry. Yep, the survival bonnet that will protect you from chemtrails.
Chemtrails. Don't get me started on chemtrails.
Oh man,
we saw some chemtrails when we were filming, didn't we?
We talked about everything, but that's one. We saw a bunch of contrails that were disappearing.
I thought they were chemtrails.
No.
Oh, that's right, because chemtrails look slightly different.
Hey, turn your iMessage on. I'm going to send you this tinfoil. That was actually a lot warmer. I can see my breath out here.
So that video was
Josh,
up again?
If you pull up Twitch, you can go to our channel. You can bring up the video, and you can see what Jesse is trying to show, but his video feed is absolutely trash.
I'm assuming you can do that somehow.
Yeah,
if you just go to a regular web browser.
Oh, like Twitch.com.
Yeah. Yep. And then search for the Survival Summit. Daniel, I don't know what's going on with the video playing funky like that. I really don't.
I don't know. You had an issue last week, but I thought you found a solution for it.
Yeah, it was go to YouTube.
Daniel, I don't know what's going on with the video. Hold on. I got to mute that.
There we go.
Yeah, I think what happened, Daniel, is we watched it on YouTube, but that one's not on YouTube, so we weren't able to watch it. So...
It's because their iMessage is not on.
Yeah, but it's playing directly from your computer.
I know, but
and iMessage is...
That's the thing. It plays fine on my computer. But it's not playing good when I'm going through Discord for some reason. It used to, but now it doesn't. I'm going to go out on a limb and say it's a Discord issue and not a me being a tech idiot issue.
Well, I mean, let's not jump to conclusions.
Maybe a mixture of both. I don't know.
All right. Well, anyways, for those of you that saw it in as crappy quality as it was, we saw some absolutely amazing wildlife out there when we were filming. And,
yeah, there was. Well, we had you got a lot of footage of woodpeckers, which was really cool footage.
Yep.
You can actually see like the sawdust coming out of their beak every time they were. That was really good footage. We had the striped garter that was on right after the pigs. We had owl. Which,
by the way, the striped garter snake you faced off with. You were playing who blinks first.
Yep. He won. He did win. He actually dude was not he was not going around me. He was coming straight through me, no matter what.
Yep.
He had balls bigger than the boar.
He was a little jerk.
He was. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was like he was laying along because we were only out there for less than an hour, I would say, and then I go back to get in my car, and he's like stretched out, laying along my wiper blade, and like stands up and looks at me right as I'm reaching for the door, and I was like, "Shit balls!" As soon as I saw him, it's like a friggin' snake, and I was like, "Oh, you're cool, man." And so we had a standoff forever, and he was not moving. He's like, "Nope, ain't moving, dude." I'm like, "All right. Suit yourself," start to get in the car, and I'm like, all right, I got to get him off there because he's going to get crushed. And I grab the stick, and he's like, hell no, like fighting me.
Yeah, trying to stay out of your car as long as humanly possible.
Yeah,
as long as snakely possible. Yeah, whatever. Yeah, he had some balls. I was impressed.
Yeah. You got some good footage of that red-shouldered hawk too.
Yep, the hawk, the owl. I didn't get a whole lot of footage of the owl because the owl didn't really do anything. He just kind of sat there like an owl does and stared at us with his infinite wisdom eyes, and that was pretty much it. Like I understood the secrets of the universe when I was staring at him. I think we all lost track of time.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. It's a lot of sandhill cranes.
Yep.
Bees, frogs. We had a little bit of everything, which is to be expected.
What was it? So there was a hole in the ground. I was filming, so I wasn't really paying attention to what everybody was saying. But there was a hole in the ground, and it looked like somebody had dumped a hornet's nest into the ground, and then bees or yellow jackets had basically taken it over. They
took it over. Yeah, it's and I've seen it happen a couple other times when I've taken down a hornet's nest off of a cabin. And you go throw it in the fire pit to burn later, after you've sprayed it and killed them all out. Well, it still has all their goodies in it. The honeycomb you saw all over the ground. So somebody had taken that down probably because, the scouts there, I would imagine, and threw it in that pit. Well, the yellow jackets on everyone that I've ever knocked down and immediately burn, the yellow jackets come in and take it off, which is yellow jackets.
Yeah, it's like a little mini war.
This is ours now, man. So they're just living in there, and they dug into the ground, because yellow jackets are basically ground hornets. So they're just sitting in their garden and everything. But yeah, it was really cool. We got some good footage of that too.
Yeah, it's actually one of my worst nightmares is to step in a fucking nest in the ground and not be able to run away from that shit.
Yeah, that's happened to me several times.
I was mowing my lawn, and we got this the Confederate jasmine on the fence on the side of our house, just covering the fence. And we've got wasps that like to live in there, and I have to take them out every year. But I thought I had taken them all out. Apparently not. I'm pushing the lawnmower, and then all of a sudden my right arm just starts burning in several spots. And I look around, and they're just all over the place.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. They're bad news sometimes.
So, in all seriousness, what is the best thing to do if you are being swarmed by fucking thousands of bees?
Push your friend in the hole and then run?
Yeah, you need to run. Yeah, you need to run. It depends on what kind. The yellow jackets, you just need to. They won't chase you as far. I got in some killer bees once in Central America. I had to run. I had to run like 1.5 miles and go through water. And then bastards will swarm and stay above where you're in the water.
Really? That's crazy.
Yeah, and those are all they're in the Southwest now. So pretty much, the vast majority of wild bees in the southwestern U.S. are Africanized now. So if a beekeeper's not around, what's that?
You were telling us about that during production. Can you expand on that? Like why they are?
Yeah, it's just basically that's the most selected for trade is the traits that they have. They produce a lot of honey. They're just able to thrive a lot more, and a lot of the things that are going after, a lot of the bees are not getting them as bad, but they're also a more aggressive bee, and they come up in the swarms and they take over. In the Southwest, if you see a bee, and there's not a beekeeper around, like if you're out, in the West and in the wild and you see them, chances are it's an Africanized bee. Because the beekeepers have, kind of the domesticated, non-Africanized, but the wild ones more so, and they kind of move them around from orchard to orchard, and it's a commercial industry beekeeping there. So yeah, it's really interesting though because it didn't used to be that way, but it is now. Like California has a checkpoint basically where any truck that comes across, especially bee trucks. They'll check your bees and also checking for ants because they don't want fire ants brought in because you may have taken your bees down to pollinate some orchards in Texas and you're coming back and where those things were sitting on the ground, those hives were sitting on the ground, they're full of fire ants now. So they'll turn you around at the border, after they inspect your truck. If it has ants on it, you have to do, I guess bee washing is a real thing. The first time I heard that, I thought they were actually washing the bees, but they're washing all the hives and everything else. I'm like, man, I would not want to give a bee a bath at all.
Especially not thousands of them.
But yeah, it's.
I always thought we had bad fire ants in Florida until I went to Texas, and the fire ants there are like little bullet ants. They're 3 times the size of the fire ants we have here, and they hurt.
Yes, they do.
Yeah, I was filming one of the films out in Texas that we've done. And as I'm filming, I had a couple of the red ants there in Texas crawl up my leg and bite my ankle, and I thought somebody shot me in the freaking ankle. It was bad.
I don't think I've ever been bit by a red ant.
Camera, I couldn't itch it. I couldn't do anything. I just had to keep filming and deal with it.
Yeah. That's the thing too, is the fire ants. Like, a lot of people are allergic to fire ants, and everyone seems to be allergic in a little bit. I mean, that histamine reaction, that really painful itchiness, that's crazy. But the small ones are a lot less, but there seems to be a lot more bites to deal with. And you get in those large,
especially when you're a kid and you put a firecracker in a fire ant hole and then let it explode, and then all of a sudden you've got death raining down upon you.
Yeah, I could see that happening.
Yeah.
You know? Never done that personally. I don't know what kind of fool would do that. But.
I wonder. We might be looking at one. Did you really do that, Daniel?
I did.
What the fuck is wrong with you?
Yeah, we ran, but apparently it wasn't far enough to run away from the blast zone. So, yeah.
Fire ant shrapnel. That's
awful.
A new one. I've never heard of that one before.
That's a bucket list thing.
You might be able to weaponize that. I'm just saying.
I think that's a great idea, but we have to weaponize the Texas fire ants, not the Florida fire ants, because these are a nuisance. The ones in Texas are hell. So when we went out to film with you, Josh, we've had for years and years and years we've had people wanting us to remake a medical film. I personally had filmed one called Master Your Med Kit with Emt back under the Prepper It was another company called Prepper Project. I didn't work. I wasn't a business partner with them, but they hired me to film. That was the first couple films I did in the survival industry. And we've had a tremendous demand for the medical films. So we contacted you for that. I know your passion is really with wilderness survival, but you're really, really damn good at the medical stuff as well. So how'd you get roped into medical versus survival? And I mean, you're still passionate about teaching it.
Yeah, it's first aid is what matters first. If you have a life-threatening injury, that's all that matters at the time. You know, it doesn't matter if you can make a bow drill fire, hand drill fire, bamboo fire saw, perfect shelter. None of that other shit matters if you're bleeding out. Like, it just doesn't, you know, and it's highly neglected in the industry because people don't understand it, so they just kind of brush over it, and they're like, yeah, you know, first aid's important. But to me, first aid is the number one priority if you have an emergency, a threat to your life. You know, air goes in and out, blood goes round and round. Of that is a life threat. You got to fix it. It doesn't matter. None of that other shit that you learn matters if you're bleeding out or you can't breathe. You know, if your leg's broke, doesn't matter if you're a great navigator because you can't walk out. But your leg's broke, you got to fix it. You know, so to me, it's the most important survival priority. So it is still in the vein of wilderness survival. You know, for me, but I went to Emt School. I cross-trained a lot with medics, SF medics, when I was in, of course, and I was really interested in that. And that's something you can do on the outside versus, you know, weapons and tactics don't really translate well to the civilian world, but medical does. So I went to Emt School, worked in an emergency room as a technician, you know, so I was on both sides of the ambulance bay doors, seeing pre-hospital care, seeing the in-hospital care in the emergency room, and then was studying biology, was going to go to PA school for emergency medicine. It's something that I was interested in, and I just became the most qualified of my circle, you know, to teach it. So like anything, if I'm going to be teaching something, I need to know it inside and out and be able to break it down to, you know, the most simple level possible. So I kind of immersed myself into that like a professional would. And just from that, it's just been a matter of demand. You know, people just like, hey, you know, that was a really good class. You know, I did just a 1 hour talk on it at a gathering one time and had 150 people in there. And I was like, yeah, but if I did that on YouTube, you know, it wouldn't happen. But I didn't expect it. But it's just kind of the circle I'm in. I think I'm somehow ended up being the most qualified to teach it. And to me, it doesn't take away from the wilderness survival. I think it's part of that's all that matters at that time. So that's what people should learn first, you know, because that's the first thing that matters. Just like navigation is probably the next thing that matters. If you get hurt and you can fix it and you can prevent a survival situation altogether, you don't need fire, shelter, water, food. You don't need any of that, you know. The same with navigation. If you can learn navigation to the point to where you've never become lost, or if you do get stuck somewhere, you can navigate your way out. You also don't need fire, shelter, water, food. You don't need any of that shit, you know. So those are the two most important things that are probably the least sexy and they get the least exposure, I think. So I'm happy to see that there's demand for things like that, because that's more important than knowing how to do a bow drill. That's more important than knowing how to do all of that stuff. Like if you get that handled, those are the preventative priorities is what I call them. You know, if you can't do that, then knowing how to signal to be found quicker so that you don't need to be providing for yourself in the woods for as long as you would. You know, if you can get someone's attention and get out of there and go home, why wouldn't you? You know, unless there's ribeyes. But
there's always that.
There's always ribeyes. But if you
wait.
Yeah, we can't say too much.
What? I eat ribeyes all the time.
Everyone will have to wait till tomorrow to understand the true meaning of what we are talking about.
But anyway, yeah. So that's how I kind of got roped into it. I was just the most qualified to speak on it. And it's just kind of gone from there. And there's been a lot of demand for it.
Yeah, I've been hammering, just trying to make sure that we could get a medical course in the works. Because honestly, across almost every industry, medical is always overlooked.
It does. Yeah.
Pretty much everywhere. Even in tactical, it's overlooked quite a bit. It's shocking how many people carry a gun but don't carry a tourniquet. To me, that's fucking insane.
I don't understand that at all. Like, why would you, every day I have the presence of mind to think, you know what, today I may need to shoot my way out of something. Meaning that somebody else is shooting at me also, or has some other thing that's going to cause bodily harm. If I have the presence of mind to carry something for personal protection, understanding that's a two-way street, there's going to be an exchange of gunfire, or there's going to be at least one person firing, or there's going to be at least somebody with a knife trying to stab me. If I'm not prepared to fix that in the 30 seconds to 3 minutes that I have before I bleed out, then, you know, why am I even bothering carrying the weapon full? I mean, it's cavalier and cowboy if you think you're the only one that's going to shoot.
The problem is they all think they're John Wick. That's
it ain't
the problem. They also think they don't have to train. They don't have to go to the range. They're just going to come out and muscle memory is going to get them through. What they don't realize is what everybody should know. You're only going to rise to the level of your training. That's it.
That's it. Yeah. And it's, you know, it's, understand. I've seen people just that should know better freeze whenever it's presented to them. It's just like until you've done it a few times and you've created those neural pathways to where it's simple for you. It's not something that you're just going to do off muscle memory from flat range training. That's why I like the Fit to Fight video, because they're incorporating a three-dimensional thing, 360.
Yep.
That's real. That's realistic. It's none of this bullshit, you know. That's flat range YouTube stuff. Like it's a three-dimensional fight, 360 degrees possibly.
Yep. They're getting their heart rate up.
That's what I really liked about their training was it was so much closer in than all the other training I've seen and been a part of, where sure, yeah, you got 20 minutes to draw your weapon and fire and everything. But I mean, that's not the case for most engagements. Most engagements are going to happen a lot closer. They're going to happen a lot quicker. And so how do you react to that?
So wait, Daniel, are you trying to tell me that I can't wear my battle belt to the fucking range every single day and train, and then I don't ever wear a battle belt in real life, but that's going to affect me? Is that what you're trying to tell me?
No, not at all. Actually, you can. That's exactly how you should train. Yeah. Whatever you do at the range is how you're going to fire in real life in a real life scenario all the time. Yeah.
All right, cool. I'll just wear the battle belt outside of my coat from now on.
You just have to look for the little toggle switch to your left whenever there's an engagement in real life, and you just flip it forward, and then your bad guy will move down range.
Perfect.
Yep, and you have time to breathe, pull, draw, you know, and do a nice easy squeeze.
Nice. I laugh, but honestly, the battle belt is comfortable as fuck. You got to admit. But if you're going to carry concealed, you need to train to carry concealed and learn how to shoot from concealment. That's the only way. You train how you fight. That's it.
Yep.
Most folks that I ran into doing the private even people that were, operators before were open carry operators, and the sidearm is a secondary. When primary is a rifle or something else, that sidearm is a secondary. When you put us in plain clothes and carrying it concealed with a firearm, with a sidearm being our primary, just getting a bunch of operators to learn the amount of repetition we had to put in just to get your clothing cleared to get a full draw without grabbing a whole pile of shit on the way out.
Yeah.
It's like you're trying to give your clothes away to them instead of pissing. You're like, hey, you want this shirt? Here you go. It's terrible. The people are kidding themselves. In a lot of ways. They're carrying it because I got this is all I need. They're going to be like the guy down in Texas in the church. That was spot on and smoked that dude. But they think that's the way it's going to be. Well, that guy probably, carried one and practiced. I guarantee he practiced because he got that thing out quick.
Yeah.
But most people don't do that. They're sitting on the couch and they love the idea of concealed carry and their right to concealed carry, which I think is great. But you got to train, and there's just not a lot of places that facilitate a 360-degree training like that. So I think that fit to fight. I think that's what I liked about it most. That's real. That's realistic. You're going to be. What are you going to do when you're surprised and you're trying to get this out while you're getting struck at?
Yep.
And bad guys don't usually run around onesies. If you're one guy, they're going to stack the odds. It's going to be 2 or 3 guys. That's just the way it is.
But hey, remember, all those guys on the internet,
not standing stationary or moving away.
All those guys on the internet talking shit that they're just going to use their Glock foo. Like, are you saying all those guys are wrong?
Yeah, I mean, I won't say anybody's wrong, but I'd like to see them do it.
Hey, like Mike Tyson says, everyone has a plan until they get punched in the face.
That's correct.
Yeah.
A lot of folks, a lot of folks don't even know how they react to being hit in the face before.
That's true.
We talked about that in the Fit to Fight video. Don't let this incident right here be the first time you ever took one in the mouth. When your 11-year-old daughter, right?
You might be a little bit shocked. My son's 10, and he gets punched in the face all the time. Training, not training, whatever. Yeah. Just get used to it. This is what it's like.
The last time I got punched in the face was high school. That was a while ago.
Really? Wow.
Yeah.
All right.
I hadn't have known that.
I've been punched in the face probably thousands of times in my life, but I'm one of those idiots. I kind of like it. Maybe not anymore because I'm old and fat and slow, but
Yeah, we're all a little older. But yeah, I think a lot of folks are kidding themselves on their training level.
They definitely are, 100%.
But don't tell them I said that because I'll get so much hate.
Wait, this video is going to go on our YouTube channel after, right?
Yeah,
you're in luck though, because no one actually watches our YouTube channel, so you're fine.
Yeah, hate to burst folks' bubbles, but also that 65-pound bug out bag you packed up that you've never opened, you ain't making it a mile.
No, definitely not.
Not one single mile.
Listen, I'll tell you a funny story. So when I was growing up, I trained probably more than anyone I knew. I mean, I was running miles and miles and miles every week. I was in the gym, 3 different gyms, 6 hours a day probably. And I mean, I was in amazing shape. But I went to upstate New York to Plattsburgh with my son last year on a little camping trip. And we went to, one of my friends from high school brought me to like a little lookout area because he was like, this is a great spot. You guys should come check it out first. And the hill wasn't even worse than like this. Man, I got so much lactic acid in my legs. My kid was running up and down the hill like, Dad, what are you doing? What are you waiting for? And then like my lungs were like, what are you doing? I had no pack on, nothing. This is a fucking hill like this. Not that bad. I mean, yeah, it was steep, but man, just to get up that rocky hill from when I was younger, I would have fucking sprinted up that hill. I had to stop like 4 times just to make it to the top. That's what people don't think about. That fitness will get you killed in a heartbeat.
All right. Not only that. Okay. So I've played pretty much every sport there is except for football. Baseball, basketball, soccer, crew. Those are kind of the main ones, right? Crew was very intense. We had to run.
Rowing a boat.
Oh.
Yeah. So every day we'd sprint 3 miles for time, and then we'd jog 6 miles the next day, sprint 3 miles for time, and that was our intro. And then we'd go in, we'd do like land exercises one day, water the next. We'd always be on the water every single day, but it kind of, I mean, it was an intense workout. And so I was very active my entire life. And once you add stress to anything, all of a sudden it just destroys a lot of what you worked on. And so all those situations were trained in non-stressful environments. I went to propose to my wife at Anna Ruby Falls in northern Georgia, and it's literally a 1/4 mile walk in a gradient that's maybe like that. It was paved. I mean, people in wheelchairs can easily get up it, no problem. I walk less than a 1/4 mile and I'm out of breath because of the stress of just thinking about proposing. And my heart rate was higher. Everything was higher. And I had just walking not even a 1/4 mile, and I am completely out of breath. And I feel like I'm 90 years old. So just adding a little bit of stress can completely destroy things that you work on in a static environment.
Yep. Yeah. There's no reality in non-reality based training. You're not doing yourself anything. You're checking it's a finger drill. You're not doing anything for yourself.
Safety first.
Yeah, that's my safety, sir. So these guys, I think, and a lot of folks are guilty of it. You were in great shape in your 20s, and you sat on the couch since then, and now you're in your 40s. But you spent that 20 years between convincing yourself you still got it. I see it all the time, folks that come out, and they're just kidding themselves. And I think, but that first bead of sweat that trickles down that nose, usually within that first mile with a 35-pound pack on flat terrain, that is reality right there. And then they realize that they've let themselves go pretty far, and we all do it. That's just the nature of it. We settle in and get comfortable. We're creatures of comfort. But if you got yourself convinced that you still got what you had in your 20s, you need to go out and take a walk and see if you're right, because I'm not going to say you're wrong. If you don't do this, you're wrong. I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm just saying go prove that I'm not right.
Yeah, to that point, 2 years ago, I would have told you I wouldn't have any problem going up that mountain. Why would I? And then when I actually did it last year, and I was like, wow, like what is happening? Because I had a back surgery and I hadn't done shit for like 3 years. But I still thought, what's the big deal? It's a mountain. I've been up mountains my entire life. No. My legs, first, it was not even my breath, it was my legs. My legs were like, no, motherfucker, this is where we stop. Like, you're not moving anymore.
What are you even thinking, bro?
And that's when I realized, can you imagine if I would have had my pack on? Holy shit. That would have been it.
Could you imagine if there was some sort of thing that pushed you out of your house and you grabbed a 65-pound pack and fucking headed out?
Oh my God. I wouldn't. And you know what? I tell my son that all the time. Because him and I started working out again. We're doing Rush Fit, old school George St. Pierre, like functional fitness, like really, really good stuff. And I tell him, if something happened, because he's always raring to go, like, oh, I want something to happen, so we can bug out, Dad. And I'm like, listen, if we have to bug out tomorrow, we're dead. I'm dead. You're okay, but you're going to be without me, so you're dead. Like,
I thought you were going to tell him that if something happens, you're going to have to carry me.
Yeah. Oh, my God. Yeah, I don't know about that. He only weighs 65 pounds. That'd be the end of it.
Don't leave me behind.
No, but I mean, I try to be serious with him and say, listen, I don't want you to work out just because I want you to look cool and get crazy abs. I need you to work out because I need you to understand that life is rough. And if something happens, literally today, even today, I would be left behind like that. I wouldn't make it. I really wouldn't. Not with any kind of a pack. Hell, without a pack, I might not make it.
Yeah. And that's the reality that most people need to go find out for themselves, because you can't convince them otherwise. But you're not fooling yourself if you can't go do a simple hike. You're like, okay, all right, I need to do something.
Yep.
But yeah, it's fun, and that's why I think it's probably most important. Of course, you've got the most preps and the most security, and you've already got shelter, you've got food, you got water, you got all that stuff, at your house. So of course, bugging out on foot should be like way down the list of shit I really want to do.
Yeah. It better be an EMP before I have to do that.
But some folks, that's their whole plan, is to stay put, and That's okay. That works until it doesn't. I mean, if something happens to push you out of there, you got to have an plan. Like one plan is nothing. You need primary, alternate, contingency, emergency. You need 4 plans.
You could be in a house with 100 guns, but if 2 guys flank you, you're fucked.
Yeah, that's
light a match. If I want to get you out of your house, I'm going to burn that shit down.
Yeah, you're coming out, or you're going to die there. But if that's your plan, is to, if this one plan I have doesn't work, I'm going to die in place, then that's the opposite of a play. You're already doing that.
Yeah.
You know,
there was a really good survival card game called Conflict that took moral situations like that and threw them at you. And the idea is to draw a card and everybody answers as a group and kind of decides on the best answer. I actually created a app for them back in the day, but the cards are great with those kind of moral dilemmas in those situations, bugging in, bugging out, which are fantastic. Quinn had a question for Josh. He said, Josh, I noticed you had the Rats pack in a video clip. Is that your med ruck, or are you using it as a multi-purpose pack?
Multi-purpose. For this video that we did, the second video that will be coming out on first aid, I had stripped it down to nothing but the medical stuff, because I needed to do, I don't always carry all of that, but I needed to show a lot of different skills. So the extra stuff I had in there to be able to show those skills took up all my extra room. But the Rats pack is a multifunctional pack to where I can put my wilderness medical stuff in there that I'm normally carrying, as well as what I'm carrying as far as what I need for, providing for my needs, as far as, my fire, shelter, water, food, first aid is obviously in there, then navigation signal, all that goes in there. Yes. So it's a multi-purpose pack when I'm using it normally.
And just so everybody knows, if you really want to get a good idea of what Josh carries on a daily basis, what he carries in specific situations, you got to go check out his YouTube page. He has, I don't even know how many. It's hundreds of videos. There's so much knowledge and information on that YouTube channel. It's insane. You will get lost in learning if you just watch all of his videos.
Yeah, I appreciate that. I do a lot of it. I was doing 2 a week so I got about 50 up last year, and then I'm doing 1 a week now, but just too much other stuff going on. But yeah, it's there's a lot on there, and we captured a lot in the 2 films that we just did. So yeah, the information's out there for people that want it.
Quinn wanted. He said, "I use it as my tactical trauma pack as paramedic. That's why I asked."
Yep. Yeah, it's a good choice. It's a really good choice. That pack is incredible. And Mystery Ranch is definitely my favorite pack. So the Rats, I've got probably three other packs from them. I used them over in Afghanistan and Iraq as well. So Mystery Ranch is the way to go. If you have a Rats pack already, that's awesome. And you already know that it's a great pack.
So the mystery pack, that was Mystery Ranch. That was the one that you were able to sit on that had a built-in seat.
That one's a Foul Raven.
Okay.
That's kind of an instructor pack. Normally with that, I'll carry that when I'm teaching, but then I've got a separate aid bag that I take whenever I have to go out with students. So it just depends. If I'm by myself, I have a much smaller little IFAC that I carry, and then that pack is more suited to that. I don't need all that medical gear, but I usually have to carry that when I have students and I take them somewhere, because I'm handling them remotely.
Yeah.
So when you're solo, what do you carry in your IFAC?
In my IFAC?
Mm-hmm.
It depends if I'm solo hunting or if I'm just going for something. A lot of times it's a tourniquet is kind of the bare bones minimum. I'll carry usually a cat tourniquet is probably the one that I go with the most. Although I'm getting really, really fond of the Sam extremity tourniquet. I really like that one. I'll carry that, and I'll carry like 1 combat gauze and maybe a compressed gauze. And I do have some pocket Israelis, so those are kind of my minimum 4 things that I'll carry, that'll handle a bleeder basically. For extremities, I've got a tourniquet. For junctional areas or other areas, I've got wound packing ability, and with the Israeli bandage, I can use that for a regular dressing, a pressure dressing. I could even make a tourniquet out of it if I had to, but I wouldn't because I carry a tourniquet. I don't like to improvise when you're down to seconds to live. That's not the time to improvise.
Yeah.
So that's kind of the bare bones minimum, like 4 things that I would carry. But you could throw that in a pocket, if you don't want to carry it. Because when I'm out by myself, I don't carry a lot. I carry basically I have them slung on one side. I've got a water bottle, that has a nesting cup and lid that I can cook in, and then a cotton bandana that I can filter with. Then a haversack, and then my belt. My haversack has a few shelter items in it, some cordage, things like that, small tarp. And then I'll carry in my pocket. I always carry a lighter and about a 6 foot piece of cordage for whatever, and a fire kit on my belt. I like to layer things because I may hang up my haversack here and go down to the water, to fill up, and I just take my water bottle. But I always have fire in my pocket with that lighter. Always have a tourniquet on me, that kind of thing. Just some things go in your pockets, some things go on your belt, some things go in your pack. So you always want to be able to provide for your needs no matter what you've got with you at the point of whatever happens. And you don't know where that's going to be, because if you knew where it was going to be, you just wouldn't go there,
Yeah, you never know. Bear comes out, you got to run, your haversack, it's gone. You never know.
Real fast, we just got Hurtman23 joined the channel, and
what's up, Hurtman23?
First comment, so just want to say what's up. I'm trying to figure out whether he's hurt 23 people or he's 23 years old, or he was born in 1923. He's just really old. I'm not sure.
I don't think that's. We do have fairly old audience, but that's pushing
maybe the 23rd.
What's that?
Maybe he's the 23rd hurt man.
Hey,
that's a good point.
You never know.
Might be a lot of hurt man.
Well, it's it sounds like at least it's not like Hurt Man 4072. So it sounds like he's got kind of a good lifespan in front.
Yeah, so it could be we could only have 23 of them to deal with. He's the latest one we know of.
There can be only one.
Good point.
Maybe the other 22 died.
Maybe he killed them.
They're either alive or they all died. I'm not sure. Yeah, I assume the previous ones died, so he's the most recent incantation of Hurt Man. So
there can be only
welcome
one
to the channel, sir.
After all this, he's probably gone.
There can be only one Hurt Man at a time.
He's like, what the fuck did I just walk into? I am out of here.
Regret opening my mouth.
That's what you get for coming to this channel.
So we've talked a little bit about medical in your experience in the military. What from the previous filming was your favorite thing to teach? What skill is your favorite to teach?
Man, they're all fun. I really love to teach fire. I think I'd love to teach them all. I think first aid is really important. I think NAVs are really important. I can go as far into the weeds as you want to go with NAV for somebody that wants to learn it. I mean, it could take them well beyond anything we learned in special operations. And that's actually one of the things we're contracted for a lot when we're training special operations guys is our primitive NAV because nobody really does it to the level that we're teaching it at. And it's a science and it's a passion for us. It's something we love to teach. But, I think probably my favorite thing to teach is primitive fire in the context of, I've already taught you that lighter should always be in your pocket. That's just you don't rely on sticks on purpose. Like that's something you do to back up mistakes that you made leading up to that point. So fire, ferro rod, solar, flint and steel, like all those techniques are great. And those need to be learned. Then you learn the boat, you start learning primitive backups. Be prepared first, then be prepared to find yourself completely unprepared. Well, that's where the primitive skills come in my technique, kind of my training philosophy. And I think that bow drill is the first really primitive skill that people learn other than natural cordage, because that's pretty easy. But bow drill is kind of the place to start. And I think that's one of my favorite things to teach because, you always have that aha moment, and it can be from a child and it could be from a guy that's 70 years old that always wanted to do this, but never could, but getting them to the point to where they understand friction fire and how to get that first ember and blow it to flame. The look on their face, it doesn't matter how old they are, the look on the face is the same. You can see it in their eyes. It's that first moment that they basically reconnected with their primal self that's been suppressed in there. and it comes out for a good 2 to 3 minutes. They're just ecstatic about it, how awesome that was. They just did something they thought was impossible, which, you know, kind of selfishly for me as an instructor, that means that I did well. You know, that's my goal, is to break down the barriers and be like, look, this isn't that complicated. This is what's happening at this point. This is what's happening here. This is what's here. I've done it wrong every single way that you could, hundreds of times. So let me tell you exactly how to, you know, borrow from my experience. Let's skip all that shit. Do this, do this, do this, do this. Boom, fire. And then you see it in their face, and they realize that they could do something they probably never thought was possible, and they did it under your instruction. That's a big deal for me. So I think that's probably one of my favorite things to teach. And then I start adding things like, okay, well, now you understand that. Apply those same principles to this piece, and let's do hand drill. You know, let's apply those same principles, and let's take this piece of bamboo and make a fire with that. You know, so once you get someone to where they understand the principles of things, they can apply it to so many different things, and it never fails. They become this different person, you know, at least for just a moment before they have to go back, and they leave the class and have to go back to work on Monday. You know, for that weekend, you know, they were in touch with their primal selves. They were happy, and you couldn't slap the smile off their face when they get that first friction fire. So I think that, and the underlying lesson of it all, is getting people off their damn couches and back out into the woods, because that's where you need to be. I think there's something healing about nature and the forest for everyone. That's where we are supposed to be.
Yeah.
The rest of this shit is artificial.
Yeah, I hate it. I don't like the way we live. Nobody's self-sustainable. It's all bullshit. You know, I can tell when I look at my son's eyes at 10 years old, when he's in the woods, and when he thinks about what life should be, that's what he thinks life should be. And I actually feel guilty that we're living in this fucking shit world, and that we can't just go live like that. I feel bad about that. It's terrible.
Yeah, it costs a surprising amount of money to get out of society. You know.
Yes,
we're rooted in like ticks. That's the problem.
We're dependent. You know.
So you mentioned carrying a lighter with you several times, and I know there's a lot of people out there that are all about flint steel, ferro rods, you know, which I agree with. But you know, I really enjoyed what you had to say out there when we were filming about lighters and something else you'd carry with you, because I mean, lighters only last so long. So how do you extend the use of your lighter? Yeah,
it's a lot of folks would, and a lot of times, you know, that lighter is an excuse for not learning more skills. Like, why would I learn that? I'll just carry 4 lighters. Well, look, dude, if the first lighter didn't work under those conditions, then the rest of the lighters aren't going to work under those conditions. The only real redundancy is in different techniques that are going to function and work differently in that same environment. But having said that, a lot of folks are relying on that lighter, but they don't know shit about, I won't say they know how to light cigarettes. I mean, they know how to light a fire with it, but they don't know how to rescue it if it gets wet. They don't know how to conserve that resource. They don't know how to use a lighter that they find on the ground that still has a spark but doesn't have any fuel anymore. It's still useful. So they know a quarter of what they should know about using lighters. And if you're going to be 100% reliant on it, you need to learn everything you need to know about those. You know, how to kind of operate with those contingency plans to make that lighter work no matter what condition it's in. But you know, one of the things that I'll carry is like that 6-foot piece of cordage that I keep in my pocket. You know, it's for a lot of different things. It's just a utility cord, but you know, the fuel in that is the finite resource, the resource that is going to go first. Chances are you're not going to break the lighter. You'll probably lose it before you ever break it, and that's evidence, you know, by all the lighters that you'll find laying around. Everywhere you go, you'll see a lighter on the ground. Pick it up, check and make sure it still sparks. It usually will still spark. Somebody threw it away because the fuel was gone. But that little spring-loaded ferro rod that's in there, you know, still sparks, still has value if you know how to use it. So if you ever were in that situation, you know, that's where you would fall on that. But even before that, you know, to prevent it from losing that fuel, if you make char material with your first fire, then after that, I can take that char and I can use that utility and actually seal off that trigger so that it won't release any more fuel. And I can conserve that fuel for when I don't have, you know, for the literal rainy day, you know, when I'm not going to be able to use char. And I can just use the spark from that ferro rod, which is going to way far outlast the fuel, and just continue to burn or create embers with natural charred material that I make with every single fire. So you're kind of you're extending that resource, for a long, long time. So carrying multiple, I'd rather carry one and know 4 or 5 different ways to use it than I would than carry 2. So I'm carrying one and know everything there is to know about using that in any situation. Now my true redundancy comes with, okay, well, it's the wind sucks right now. I cannot get this to stay lit long enough to get a candle going, to get something going, or get my natural tinder burning. It sucks. So a stormproof match, both of them are open flame. So that's true redundancy. That stormproof match, the wind isn't going to blow out. So now I've actually backed that up. A second lighter is still not going to work. A third and fourth lighter is still not going to work in that wind. So to me, it's important to have different ways of making a fire. Now, after that, those are for actual emergencies. That's when I'm going to use those. They're a convenience thing. After that, the most durable is probably solar if it's there, and if it's not there, then I use a ferro. So that's kind of how I carry my stuff and use it. Is the lighters and the matches are convenience, and they're the most limited of those 4 resources. So I'm saving those for an actual emergency. I'm using my solar every time I get a chance, because that is indefinite as long as the sun's going or the sun's out. And then if the sun's not out, then I'm going to use that ferro rod. You get upwards of 20,000 strikes off of that, and it shouldn't take more than 3 for fire. So, I'm getting thousands of fires off of one ferro rod. And with the solar, I start solar fires all the time. So that's the way I think of it. But I don't hear you at all.
Daniel, no, we can't hear you. No audio.
There we go. All right.
Hey,
yeah,
and don't worry. Fixed. This is just a guy that does all the tech, all the filming, all the editing that can't figure the fucking audio out. No big deal.
What could go wrong?
Oh, sorry.
Are you guys done?
Sorry. Yeah. I didn't know if you could hear me still,
All right.
So.
All right. So with the ferro rod, so I've got basically a 3/8 inch ferro rod. Jesse sent me a photo of a 1 inch or a 4 inch diameter ferro rod that he has.
Yeah.
Does size matter when it comes to ferro rod? With ferro rod,
yes and no. There is a such thing as being too large. But here's the thing: the small ones all of them are going to probably last you for whatever emergency you're in. But the difference becomes, cold hands, cold temperatures, loss of kind of those motor skills and dexterity. The smaller ones can be harder to use, especially in the winter when you're using gloves. Taking your gloves off to start a fire when it's -15 sucks. So larger ones are easier to hold on to. There's they're easier to use, more gross motor skills where you're just using that motion instead of trying to use your fingers. But when you get to those larger ones, like the 1 inch in diameter, I mean, if you look at that curvature, the amount of purchase you're getting between that curvature and the edge of the spine of your knife or the edge of that striker is pretty much the same. The rest of it is not even in contact with that striker. So you're just removing probably about the same amount of material no matter what. It's just the bigger one's going to last forever versus the smaller one, but you're not really getting any advantage to the ability to start a fire with the bigger one. You're still removing probably the same amount of material with each stroke because... Yeah.
And I've tested it. It's the same material. You don't get much more. Now, in my defense, I bought it because it was cool. I didn't buy it because I'm fucking going to carry it all the time. That thing's like a little over a pound. You could kill someone with that thing. Literally, you could kill someone with it.
Yeah,
I just thought it was awesome.
Rabbit stick.
So if you're counting ounces when you go out backpacking, do not get the 1 inch diameter.
Don't get the one. Yeah, it's huge.
No, that 1/2 inch by 5 or 6 inches long, that seems to be the best. That's the one I use all the time. I've got a box full of the smaller ones, but you use a different technique. They don't throw as much spark because there's just not enough of a runway, to really remove that material. So
one thing that I noticed when we were filming, you were talking about the smaller ferro rods, the really tiny ones that people can buy, which I've always avoided them. And you talked about a specific technique to use those. We didn't film that specifically. We didn't talk about that in the film. You want to kind of explain how the tinier ferro rods are used versus the larger ferro rods?
Yeah, so the larger ones are kind of what I would consider a shotgun. It's a shotgun blast. You're removing a large amount of material and getting it on your tinder right now. The smaller ones, you don't really have enough, you don't have enough motion in there. There's not enough surface area to do that. So you do it's more like a sniper rifle. All right. So I'm processing out my tinder. I'm getting something at the very center that's going to take that spark, like, for everyone that loves Vaseline soaked cotton balls, versus somebody that uses natural tinder. You just really find natural tinder in the center, and you actually use a thumb assist technique. So you're holding it and you're pressing your thumb and using your other thumb to kind of flick that material. So you're taking that edge, and instead of scraping it down like that, you're kind of flicking it like this, because you've only got that much room to work with. And you're setting a smaller amount of sparks, but they're directly going on to that really fine tinder that's ready to take that spark. So it's just a little different technique. I call it the thumb assist technique. I think I do have a video on that on YouTube, really made as far as the quality goes, because that's a really old video. I probably have 4 or 5 videos on ferro rods, more than you ever want to know on ferro rods.
I'm definitely going to watch that one, because, they have the little pieces that you can put on, like, a drawstring and things like that. And I always wondered, how the fuck do you use that thing?
Oh, yeah. There's another one on there that's, I think, EDC Firestarter or something, where I'm using one of the Wazoo necklaces, just a little tiny guy, and it's got a little ceramic striker, but it's like a little, But yeah, it's different technique.
So as opposed to using the entire length of the larger ones, you're just basically just taking off the tip.
Just the tip.
Basically,
Daniel.
yeah.
Just the tip.
Once you get to where, because like those 12,000 strikes or 10,000 strikes or 12,000 strikes, that doesn't mean you're using the entire thing. Like when they're doing it, they're using the last quarter of an inch and flipping onto something that's really combustible. So you're basically whittling it down around, and it gets shorter and shorter.
So I've been using the smaller ones completely wrong over the years.
I mean, it's not wrong if it's making fire. It's just not lasting you as long.
That's what she said.
Not lasting as long. Oh, right off.
So let me ask, because I mean, I'm definitely going to watch the video, but what I found with the ferro rod is sometimes I have to put a lot of pressure. Like my son has a problem getting good sparks because he just can't put enough torque. He just can't get enough into it.
Yeah. Yeah, you got to really, because you're removing pyrophoric metal from the rod.
Yep.
So the more of that you can remove with each stroke, the more spark you're going to get. And if you're just glancing the top of it and not removing material, then you're not exposing it to oxygen. It's not going to, it's not going to combust. You're not going to get it. So the more you can dig that in and really remove material off, expose it, the better off you're going to be. So, for those there, and I think we talked about this, kids, there's one called the Blast Match that's actually really good for one-handed, and I think it's good for kids because even if all he does is flip it upside down and push on that pressure and slam it down into the tinder bundle, it's going to spark really well.
Yeah.
So I think it's really good for kids. Probably by the time he gets good with that, he's going to be, good enough to do the other ones. But you can also get softer rods. Softer rods remove a lot of material with a lot less force, and the sparks kind of burn a lot longer.
Okay.
Because they're bigger chunks of material. So it's really, just have them keep working at it and figure out one that works really well for them.
Yeah. Oddly enough, that weird contraption that I showed you where it's got he just kind of goes really fast and he gets a ton of sparks.
Yeah. Yeah.
So for now, for him, that's easier.
Yeah. So we're going to start wrapping up pretty soon, but Josh got to use the fire piston for the first time.
Yeah.
What did you think of it?
Yeah, it's pretty cool. I mean, I like that. It's kind of like one of those nostalgic ways of making fire. It's pretty cool. And it's not something I'd want to do in an emergency, but, I've got 7 other ways before I would need it. But I think it's really cool for like, hey, check this out. I can make a fire. Well, bam. And then hit it up, So I actually do want one of those. I've never had one, and that was the first time it ever. But I knew what they were and the concept. And it was really, I think, took me maybe 3 to 5 times to get it. So it's user friendly. So I think it's cool because, I kind of like a blend of modern and traditional stuff. So I really like, wax canvas. I like oilcloth. I like leather. I like durable kind of old school stuff. It's heavier, but I don't care. Like we usually say, that gear's too heavy. It's like, well, if you lose 10 pounds, then you can carry 10 pounds of extra gear and you come out even. Still carrying the same weight, But yeah, I really like that. So I like the wood on the fire piston, and I think it's a really cool little technique to use. It's not an emergency.
Pack it with char.
Pack it with char. I'm sure you could probably find some dry enough punk wood to put in there that isn't charred. It might actually work. I'd like to try it with 100 different things. A little piece of fungus. I've got cases of fungus that I've sourced. Different kinds. So it's definitely interesting. I think it's a good bushcrafting type tool. For folks that are not. It's not an emergency pack thing, but most of the time we're going out just to enjoy the woods. We're not going out. It's not emergency survival most of the time.
Yeah.
Sometimes it'll never be. We're going out and enjoying the woods. So whatever you want to take, man.
I like the fire piston, but I would never use it for an emergency because, Daniel, remember that time I tried to make a video and I could not get the fucking tinder to light with this? I had a nice coal. I had everything perfect. Nothing. I just could not get it to go. Yeah. I'll stick with the ferro rod. Thank you.
Yeah. The easiest way to make something not work that you're very good at is to film it.
Exactly. So we're gonna wrap up in just a second. Is there anything that you wanted to mention about film that we're currently editing? Maybe a favorite moment or a favorite technique that you're excited for people to see. You want to talk about that?
I think tomorrow.
Yeah, I think the video that is premiering tomorrow on YouTube.
Yeah.
That's a video that has been in the back of my mind, and I've wanted to do it for years. And then, we kind of talked about it out there and decided to do it. And I'm really glad we did. I'm really excited for that. I think that's going to be hilarious for people to see. I think they're going to love it. And it's outside the normal.
Hilarious in the fact that they're going to learn so much knowledge that they never knew before.
They're going to learn so much knowledge. I guarantee we're going to get emails and comments like never before.
You're probably correct. Yeah. Yes. So I think that one I'm really excited about. I think it was really well done. I like it. So we're gonna premiere that over on my YouTube channel tomorrow at 6. So I'll be in the comments section. Which premiere is a really cool way to, once it airs, like to actually be there with the creator and talk back and forth.
Yep.
And watch it. Yeah, it's really cool. I've really enjoyed doing that the last couple of times.
That's 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for those West Coast people.
Eastern Standard Time. So I think that's going to be a great thing to watch. I think it's going to be fun. So I'm looking forward to that one. And then, of course, the medical stuff, we'll see how that plays out. I know you got a lot of for that, So
I personally can't wait to start pushing all the content from the medical. I went to one TCCC course, and I've been addicted. As Daniel knows, one time we did a show and tell, and I had like 10 medical packs. It was completely out of control. So
yeah,
completely out of control. Yeah, he had a mountain in the background of all the medical kits accumulated over the years.
Listen, I have to basically wear a load-bearing belt because I wear cargo pants, and the specific reason to wear cargo pants is because I carry cats, rats, an Israeli. Pretty much whatever you can think of. I have ferro rods in my pocket. I go to the grocery store with this shit. Like I'm addicted to it. I can't help myself.
Yeah, but you can go out behind Food Line or Piggly Wiggly and start a fire. Everybody else, they may be inside eating chat. You'll be squared away.
I'm out there sparking off the rod.
Yeah.
By the way, Quinn will be on your channel tomorrow when you premiere the next chapter.
Listen, everybody better be there, or we will find you. Josh also has training as a tracker, so if you're not there during the premiere, he will find you. Just throwing it out there.
True story.
He's pretty motivated.
All right, guys, we are going to wrap it up. We will see you guys tomorrow. Daniel and myself and Joshua will all be on the premiere on Joshua's channel, Gray Bearded Green Beret. And make sure you check out his website, graybeardedgreenberet.com. He's also carrying some select films from us as well. And we have some surprises coming up, along with the launch within a couple weeks of the new film, Into the Woods. So, until the next time, we will see you bastards later.
All right. See ya. Thanks for having me, guys.
Yeah.